Erin Baker, best-selling author of the book Joyful as Fuck, the essential business strategy we're afraid to put first.
Thank you. And I think you're the first person who's said the as fuck part. Everybody is joyful AF.
It's like... That comes up for so many people where they're like, well, I don't want to work out, but like, it's not fun for me, but it's good for me. Or I don't want to do this, but I have to do this. What would you say when people bring those concerns up when you say this to them? Chase joy.
We're not taught about what joy is really all about. And so sometimes we have these associations that, well, if I followed my joy, it means I would, for you, is I'd be on the couch watching Netflix, eating McDonald's. What that tells me, and I think I told you this, is that you probably need some rest before you can pursue your joy. And there's this feeling we have that pursuing our joy means shirking our responsibilities. And what that tells me is that our responsibilities have become too problematic in a way. So I tell people, if what you're thinking right now as a joyful pursuit is something like being on the couch watching Netflix, you need rest. And then I say, you haven't been taught about how to pursue joy in that. That's because we haven't been taught how to pursue joy.
And it definitely changed the way I kind of went about my podcast too, right? Because like we're working on this because we do have an episode with the Wonders, right?
Yes.
And I remember like getting on that and being so professional. And then we got done with the recording and I'm like, oh, that didn't feel great, right? Because the unwritten rule for me was if it's my podcast, I have to be more professional. And after that recording, actually, I was like, no, I need to be more myself. Why I started the podcast. And it's funny because I actually when I started recording, like I was like that. And then obviously as I became more and more popular, the pressure and everything started coming on me. And I'm like, oh, now more people are listening to me. So now I have to be more professional or I have to be giving them more value versus I forgot that the reason people started listening to me was because they liked me.
Profound about what you're saying, right? Is also as we get better at things, become more masterful at things. I'm going to quote you where we give ourselves less permission to be a disaster. We give ourselves less permission to be creative, to innovate. And it's really easy when you start, let's say, a podcast to look around at how everybody else does it and decide that their way is the right way. I also want to say, if you're someone who has a message for the world and you go, well, should I start a podcast? Should I do social media? Should I do a blog? Should I be on YouTube? Listen to all those times I said should. Right? What do you want to do? So for me, I have a love-hate relationship with social media because I have a hard time feeling like it's a conversation. And I've had this conversation before, right? Where to me, for whatever reason, like my joy is conversation. My superpower is conversation. Your joy and your superpower are very aligned, just so you know. I struggle more on social media. And when I'm able to find it as a conversation, I have a lot of fun, but it's sometimes doesn't feel that way. Podcasts are a conversation for me. I wrote my book as conversations. I will say to listeners, think about what is your zone of genius? What is your joy? And find the mechanism of delivery that follows your joy.
And that's so true because you see so many different creators doing different things now. Like some people will role play because they like acting. They just love it. Some people will just be painting with like some voiceover on top, like because they just enjoy painting and they just like recording that. And some people will be cooking and they'll just be cooking and them doing voiceovers and talking about martial arts, like, just random. You never know what people like.
And your people will like what you like.
Exactly. There are people who might hate it because there will be people who hate it.
Oh, yeah.
Good. Yeah. Good. Let them leave. Bring more of your own people in. And I think that's one of the lessons that I think took me a long time to really get into. It's one of those things you have to keep reminding yourself, well, this is a good thing. This means I am being more myself. I showing up more and more. And it's so interesting because we were talking to one of my really good friends and we were just like talking about this one creator. And they were like, oh, this person posts too much. And in my head, I was like, well, actually, I don't think they post enough. And it was so weird. And I was like, I actually feel like I don't think they post enough. I can just keep consuming them. And that reminded me of the same conversation we're having right now. It's like, for some people, you'll be too much. And for some people, it's like, I cannot get enough of this person.
What I think is really also profound about it is that your people, once they found you energetically aligned, will follow you no matter what you do. So a lot of people are really afraid to like change their message over time. My social media is all about business owners. I will tell you secretly, my niche on coaching is that's all over the place because a lot of people come for me for different things. But I've often asked myself, these, what if I pivot, right? So I pivoted my Life in the End podcast to Shift Starters. And I thought, oh no, what if I pivot? I mean, thought it for a brief moment, but this way in which once people have you energetically as an aligned fit, they're going to follow you no matter what. So you don't have to stay stagnant once. That's the thing that people get into. Okay, I'm being me and now people like this version of me, so I must have to stay here, right?
Again, going back to like, oh, what do I have to do for people to continue liking me? No, just keep being yourself.
Keep being yourself and keep evolving. And, people surprisingly will come follow you.
So true. I love that what your message keeps evolving. And not only that, but people who really like your energy will follow you no matter what.
No matter what.
I really like that. Yeah.